first walked in to the door.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, the agenda for CRA and the commission meeting.
And y'all, hey, these mics, y'all, we'll turn them on.
Everybody ready to start the CRA meeting? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, to the board meeting of the CRA on this January the 8th at 3:30 p.m. I do apologize for starting a few minutes late. I was thinking that we started everything at 4 today, so it was totally my error. So the meeting is now called to order. Item number 2, is there anyone who would like to speak in the public commentary section of the CRA meeting today? If you would like to speak, the microphone is open. Okay, apparently no one would like to speak today. Moving on to the consent agenda. Item number 3 is the approval of the meeting minutes from September 25th, 2018. That seems so long ago. Is there a motion to approve or not to approve?
So move.
There's a motion.
Second.
There's a motion for approval and a second of the meeting minutes from September 25th. Any discussion, corrections, deletions, additions? There appear to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll for approval of the minutes from September 25th, 2018?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes? Yes. Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so the minutes stand approved. Item number 4, discussion and possible action to approve the residential incentive program for 301 West 11th Street. Is there a motion for possible action and for discussion of this incentive program? There's been a motion for approval.
Second.
There's been a second. Is there any discussion from the board or questions regarding the residential incentive program for 301 West 11th Street?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead, Commissioner Tender.
I would just like to know exactly where is this property, and explain to me, bring me up to snuff. They're applying for the 2,500 or 5,000, or how much are they applying for?
Ben, would you like to address that, please? Thank you.
Yes, they're applying for the $2,500 residential incentive, and the property is located just a block and a half from Lynn Haven Elementary School at the corner of 11th and Georgia Avenue. So just
Okay.
around the corner.
And so I just want to make sure that I completely understand. So the property was vacant,
Yes.
and they're building on it.
Yes, it was completely vacant, and actually the applicant checked the wrong box, and I corrected it because I have seen this vacant property, before he started construction in person. So
Okay, so and is this one of those situations where the money goes to the contractor, or is it going to the homeowner?
it goes to the property owner, which happens to
Okay.
be a contractor, and he will be selling the property more than likely. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion from the board? Are there any questions or discussion from the public? Mr. Walker?
Thank you. Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. There was no question, but I was continuing with Commissioner Tinder's thing there. This is the second case of incentive for the developer gets, the owner is the developer contractor. He gets the money. Now, just wanted to clear a little bit up on this. When the developer gets the money, he gets the money in that year. He gets the $5,000. The owner of the house who buys it doesn't get any benefit out of it. At that time, the developer and construction man also gets to, he doesn't pay the taxes. So he's getting $5,000 right off the cuff. And he also gets, the impact fees are reduced, we just reduced them. He gets them reduced, that's the developer, not the owner. They pass that on to the owner. The developer gets the $5,000, passes the impact fees on to the owner. Owner has to pay for it. Developer owns the property for maybe a year, doesn't pay any taxes on it, because it's paid for by the previous owner, which in these cases isn't him. So you don't have a tax flow there, you don't have anything you're gaining out of it for a couple of years until the new owner of the house who didn't pay who pays the impact, didn't pay the impact fees, didn't pay taxes, didn't get the $5,000, finally gets hit with the tax bill. And that is when we start recouping our money. Now, some people have a question about that. It takes approximately 2.5 to 3 years to do that. Yes, as Mr. Friend, Commissioner Friend and I discussed this, we look at it long term. But most of this money is going to the developer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Robitaille. You can speak from there if you like.
Thank you very much. Is it like you just explained? This sounds like a real shoe game to me.
Mr. Robitaille, I didn't respond because Mr. Walker and I have agreed to disagree on our opinions about how this benefits or doesn't benefit the city. And I didn't say I wouldn't respond, I said I didn't respond. But what I would say to you is that to have an undeveloped piece of property in the city and to have anyone to develop it and to make it better by putting something on it that someone can buy, a business, a home, and which will benefit the city through ad valorem taxes and will benefit the city through more people moving here, using our businesses. I just have a different opinion of how this program has worked, and I certainly respect Mr. Walker's. If you'd like to hear someone else's thoughts on it, I'm certainly open to Mr. Ben Jonke taking the floor if that's what you would like.
I'd like
to expound on his thoughts. Is that what? Okay.
I'd like him to respond to me.
Well, you can't ask him directly in a commission meeting. You have to ask the board.
I'll ask him after the meeting then.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Robitaille. I appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. So we've had a motion and a discussion for possible action. Is there any further discussion? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so we approve the residential incentive program for this particular piece of property, 301 West 11th Street. Item number 5 is the same, again, discussion and possible action to approve the residential incentive program for 303 West 11th Street, an adjacent property. Is there a motion for discussion and possible action?
So moved.
And a second?
Sorry, Mayor, second.
That's okay, there is a second. Is there anyone on the board who would like to ask a question or make a comment, discuss, etc.?
Mayor, I'd like.
Please go ahead.
Is this the same contractor? Just bought up both pieces of property?
Yes, he purchased a large piece of, a large vacant property and cut it in half and generated 2 buildable lots out of it.
Thank you. And would it be inappropriate for me to ask who this is? Because if
It's,
it would, I
it's
don't
in,
have
it's in
to-
our packet. It's Mr. I'm sorry. I was trying to say
Holton
Internet. Hopefully.
Enterprises.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from the board? Any further comment or discussion from the, Mr. Walker, if your comments are exactly the same as on the other piece of property, I would prefer not. If it's something different, I'll let
I
you.
wouldn't do that.
Okay, go ahead.
All it is, I'd like you to point out, in the program itself, okay, there are only 3 of them he can do in 1 year.
Thank you. I think we were aware of that. Hopefully everyone was on the board. Anyone else have a comment or discussion? Mr. White, would you please call the roll? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Robitaille. Didn't.
Thank you. Is it possible for you to share the name of this developer, owner?
Yes, we have it. We just did. It's Wholesomeback Enterprises LLC, correct? Yes, Wholesomeback Enterprises LLC, and I have the packet if you'd like to look at it as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we were doing very well with having a published copy of all the packets for those of you who don't have internet access or don't choose to use the internet. But when the roof blew off the library, it handicapped us a little bit. We'll try to get back to that so that we have these packets available earlier, maybe in the weekend, so people can peruse those for the meetings, if that will be helpful. Is there any further discussion? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Barnes,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and stands approved. And then, I'm not sure if you wanted to bring this up as the city manager. Ms. City Manager, I'm not sure when would be the appropriate time there to bring that up. I'm saying we don't have it on the agenda.
Okay.
Um,
That was something that was discussed between the mayors.
Sure, that would be something that not, one of the commissioners could certainly ask to be recognized if they have something they would like to recommend.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, please, I recognize you to make any statement or recommendation that you have.
Thank
I
you,
didn't
Mayor.
mean to cut the city manager off, he just can't do that, it's not on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Concern that I've raised and want to discuss with the CRA board. Obviously, we've already had two incentives already this year. And I feel like that we probably ought to suspend incentive programs until the infrastructure for the CRA has been repaired. You know, I understand our CRA money can be spent inside the CRA, and I'm afraid that we may end up with repairs more than the CRA can afford if we don't suspend the incentive program until we take a look at it and see how much money is going to be required. That's my concern.
I appreciate that concern, Commissioner Russell, and I think that's a very valid concern, and I certainly think it's also a great idea. I don't have the power to second a motion if you're putting it in the form of a motion, and are you putting it in the form of a motion?
Yes, ma'am, I'll make that in the form of a motion.
And I would second it.
Okay, there has been a motion by Commissioner Russell, if I could clarify, that at this point, because of the expenses the city is facing right now in the aftermath of the storm, that the CRA funds be set aside to help rebuild or repair other properties as long as it's within the CRA, rather than continue this program. And I know that will make at least two people happy in here if that should pass. There have been several others as well. But is there any discussion from the board on this motion and second that has been set forth? And then I'll give an opportunity for any public discussion as well.
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to see numbers first. I'd like to see if we could ask the CRA director to give us some numbers on where we're at, where we're going to have to be with the rebuild, what some of those numbers look like before we suspend the program, only because the program's been so successful in the past. We've seen the return on investment. We see that the program works. We desperately need housing in Lynn Haven right now. I'd rather make a decision based on numbers other than just speculating that we're going to need the money. I'd just like to see numbers is all I'm asking for, is perhaps that we just delay it until the next CRA meeting. And of course, we can always have a CRA meeting before our commission meeting. So that would be my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Friend. Are there any other comments from the board?
Yes, I met with the city manager yesterday, and this very topic came up in our meeting. And we're at a point in time right now where we're going to have to tighten our belts. Money is going to be pretty tight, and we really need to see where we go from here. So I'm in agreement with this motion, and I'm also in agreement what we do need to look at the numbers to see where it's going to take us from this point on.
Okay, I'm hearing you say that you're in agreement with the motion, but then I'm hearing you say that you're also in agreement with Commissioner Friend, and it sounds to me like Commissioner Friend is wanting to wait. So,
Well, to clarify that, I think right now we do need to suspend the program. I'm in favor for that. Also, at the same time, while the program is suspended, we need to look at the dollars and cents and see where we go from there.
thank you for that clarification. Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the incentive program, residential and I'm assuming for business as well, be suspended until we have an opportunity to see what our expenses are going to be as we move forward in the aftermath of the damages from the storm. So is there any other discussion or comments from the board? And also I believe our city manager had a comment he wanted to make. Did you want to say something? No? Okay, anyone else? Anyone from the public have a comment? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106. You included the businesses in there. I heard that.
I said I assume, and I saw Commissioner Russell nod his head.
Okay, good. Okay, that was it. Will the city's incentive program take over for that, or are you going to look at that one also? The city's incentive program is almost similar to CRA.
I didn't hear that in the motion. Would you like to clarify, amend, or?
I would assume that would have to be done in the commission meeting, as a commission instead of, as a CRA board.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll? Sorry.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Friend,
No.
Commissioner Barnes. Aye. Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Yes, sorry. So the motion would pass on that recommendation. And our regular, that will be the regular agenda. Number 6 on the items is to adjourn. And so this time the CRA Community Redevelopment Agency meeting is adjourned, and we will begin our regular commission meeting in about 10 minutes at 4 p.m. Thank you so much for coming.